beautiful people. This is your host, Demira Virgil, and you are listening to or watching Queendom Conversations Pod. Today, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Dominique Grant. Let me tell you a little bit about Dominique. Dominique is a passionate advocate embodying strength, resilience, and hope. Currently living with HIV, Dominique uses her platform to raise awareness, break stigma, and educate others about the realities of living with HIV. With the commitment to empower those affected by the virus, she shares her journey with honesty and vulnerability, inspiring others to live their truth and fight for their health and well being. Through her advocacy, Dominique is not only making a difference in the lives of those living with HIV, but also in larger communities by promoting compassion, support, and education. Her mission is to amplify the voices of those who have long been silenced and to ensure that no one has to face this journey alone. Ladies, again, we have Dominique Grant. I just want to thank you so much for coming on this platform. I do know that December is AIDS Awareness Month. And I wanted to end the month with this episode because I feel like this is a topic that a lot of women they don't want to talk about. I feel like there's a lot of stereotypes and there's a lot of judgment, and I think that it's very commendable of you to come on here to be vulnerable, to share your truth, and just to stand in your truth and advocate, because you have a lot of people who really don't understand, and there's just a lot of opinions without facts. So let's just start by this. I told Dominique that I didn't have a list of questions. I told her that we would let the Holy Spirit lead us, and wherever the Lord leads us, and then that's where we'll go. I feel like conversations are deeper and they make the better impact when it's not prearranged and there's not these questions that we go over and then we just talk about. So I really want to know your story, Dominique. You can start wherever you feel comfortable starting about your journey.
I thank you for having me. A little about me. Um, I was just in love in a relationship. I met this guy. I trusted him, and somewhere along that line and along that road, I acquired HIV. With that being said, I was just going in for my regular exam,
Mm-hmm.
and I got that unexpected phone call, and I went back to the doctor office, and she told me that I had acquired HIV. I heard her. I took it in, and I just knew from then on that this was my reality now. Now, the thing about that being my reality, I knew I had to go home and tell this guy whom I love, whom I've been with in a heterosexual relationship. And when I went home to tell him, he had told me that he already knew. He had been dealing with it too, but he failed to tell me. He had not been on his medication. That made it more complicated because if he had been doing what was necessary, then my chances would be likely. But I don't blame him because if we had more conversations, if we got in relationships and we asked those uncomfortable questions when
Mm-hmm.
dealing with one another, then we would be more aware of our sexual health. We would be more aware of our status. We would know. So if I had gone on that first date to a clinic instead of out to eat or to get a drink, I would probably know my status. I would know his status. But here I am now. I'm advocating for it. I'm living my life. I'm loving who I am, and I'm walking in my reality.
So let me ask you this, Dominique. What were some of the symptoms to where you felt the need to go to the doctor to be tested? What are some of the symptoms you had?
Now, in my case, I didn't feel any symptoms. I didn't have any. I was just going to get my annual done,
Mm-hmm.
my regular pap smear, and I always been asked to be tested for everything every time I go. And so, in the year of 2015 is when I acquired HIV.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take it back a little bit. I have so many questions, Dominique. In that very moment when the doctors told you that you were HIV positive, what are some of the first thoughts you had? And the reason why I'm asking you this is because I've been doing a little research since we had our first conversation and I met you. And I was not aware that there were so many different medications that were available. I was not aware of if you take certain medications that it would put you at a point to where it is not traceable. And Dominique, she explained to me prior to us coming on here that even though you can take a HIV test and it says that it's not traceable, it's still in your system. But I was not aware of that. When I look at this website, aidsvu.org, they have a online interactive map. And on the interactive map, you can actually go in and you can select city, county, and state. You can select sex, you can select age, and then you can select race. When I went into the state of Mississippi, the highest number, they were in Hinds County. Okay, so let me start there. Surrounding areas, when I looked at Madison, there were people who were living there that have HIV and AIDS. When I looked at Yazoo, when I looked at Rankin County, when I looked at Pearl, when I looked at Vicksburg, like every county that I clicked in, there were people there who are living and they have HIV and they have AIDS. And I think a lot of times we don't realize that there's no such thing as us being living somewhere and we don't have people around us that are dealing with this. And I think that there are more people dealing with this than what we realize, but there are so many stereotypes, there's so much judgment, there's just so much misunderstanding when it comes to women who are dealing with this, that a lot of times they just go day by day in silence without standing in their truth. There are going to be some women who watch us on this platform, watch this video, and hear Dominique speaking these words, and they are dealing with the same exact issues, but because the way they are judged and they are looked at and they are talked about, and people turn their back and they walk away from them, or they treat them like they are not even human beings, it's why they are not more comfortable speaking their truths. So that is why this is important for people to be honest, to stand in their truth, and to advocate, because you can save a life. I know for a fact that Dominique sitting here tonight is going to spread awareness, and there's some women who are going to have an aha moment and say, you know what, let me check, you know what, let me tell him, instead of us going out to eat, let's go get tested. Let me do the things I need to do to protect myself. Even though I'm in love, I'm gonna put myself first. So that's why this is so important. Let's talk about when you went home and when you had a conversation with him, and when he said that he was aware of this. How did you process that? Because that means that you were aware the whole time, but you chose not to tell me about your status. So, for women who are dealing with this, there are a lot of times you can deal with people and they're not honest, and they may not tell you for whatever reasons. It could be because they may feel like you won't date them and they want to be a part of your life. Like, there's just so many reasons why they won't tell you their own reasons. But when you find out you have it, and especially if you find out that somebody is aware that they have it and they weren't doing the things they needed to do to protect you and then protect themselves, how do you process?
So for me, I loved him. I asked
Okay.
myself, if I had not known, would I still love him? And I
Mm,
would. I still
mm,
love this man.
mm,
My biggest concern was getting him under care.
mm,
I wanted him to do what was necessary for him to go to the doctor, for him to get on his medication. It
mm,
wasn't so much that I was hurt. I was hurt.
mm,
But again, I loved him. And because I loved him, my main focus was you gotta get under care. If we're gonna be together, if we're gonna do this, you gotta go to the doctor.
mm,
And it was a struggle. He wasn't just on board, but he's on his medication. He did go to the doctor and he continues to, thrive and be on his medication. For me, it may not have turned out that way with somebody else. But
mm.
because of our background, because I knew him, because we had those conversations and he failed to tell me, my heart still went out to him.
And so you had compassion for him.
I had compassion for him.
Mm, mm. Okay, so let me ask you this. You say you found out in 2015.
Correct.
And when did you start to speak in your truth about you having HIV?
January of 2024.
Okay. So I know it's been a long journey. What happened within your life within that point to where you said, you know what, I'm gonna just stand in my truth and I'm gonna tell people what's going on with me so I can spread awareness? Like
Whatever.
what clicked? Like what happened? Because 2015 to 2024, that's a very long time. And that's a very long time to not stand in your truth. And that's a very long time to be silent and not share the things that you're going through and have that group of women or family or just that support system who's going to love you regardless of your status. Um, and I know that at times that can be very lonely. So what triggered that moment to where you said, I don't care what people say about me. I don't care how they look at me. I don't care who disconnects from me, who walks away from me. It's more important for me to spread awareness and save lives versus people opinions about this situation that I'm in.
Within that relationship, did acquire HIV. We battled within ourselves. He became abusive emotionally, physically, mentally. And that last time he put his hands on me was it for me. So we broke up. It was hard. I did some long suffering. I had a reality check. And I just thought I was defeated. I thought my life had stopped. I could not go on without him. Because for me, I
Mm.
didn't plan on being with anybody else.
How long had you been with him? How long had you dated him?
We dated over 10 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We dated over 10 years. I hadn't planned to go anywhere. But when we broke up, I had a moment. I thought I was undefeated. I thought I couldn't make it. And I looked myself in the mirror and God said, baby, you won. You already won. The battle is yours. I gave you the greatest weapon on you, your
Mhm.
mouth, your voice. Open
Mhm.
up your mouth. And so ever since then, I've been walking in my reality. I've been telling my truth.
So I'm just trying to make sure that I understand this, because I don't want people to get confused about the things that you've been through. Not only did he give you HIV, he was also abusive. So throughout the 10 years you were dealing with, he gave you HIV, but he was also abusing you.
Correct.
And then you were not telling anybody about either situation. You were just dealing with it on your own.
I was a few people that kind of saw
And you
or knew.
going
But
on.
other than that, I was dealing with everything on my own. It
So
was, uh-huh,
so this is really good because there are some women who are dealing with abuse, and there are some women who it may not be HIV, it may be other things that their other significant others have given them, and they're dealing with things and they're not having conversations.
right.
Can you explain to women how to get past that, like emotionally, physically, spiritually? How do you get past those seasons? That's a long time. That's 9 years, 10 years. How in the world do you get through those seasons and still be able to wake up every morning and have joy and have peace and still feel like there's life? There's still life to live because that's a lot to take on. Sometimes we may lose a job, we may lose a car, we may get a foreclosure, we may have different things going on. But when you say HIV on top of you gave me HIV, but then you are abusing me at the same time, and then I'm telling you to take your medicine. I'm supporting you. I'm loving you unconditionally. Like I stayed with you, even though these things have happened, and you still are not treating me the way that I need to be treated. And I'm not telling anybody. I'm sitting in silence. And I don't want to say just suffering because I'm sure that you had your good days and then you had your bad days, but 10 years is a very long time. For the women who are watching this, who feel defeated, who feel like nobody understands them, feel like they'll be judged, feel like their back is to a wall. What are some things you can say to help them get through this season? Because you are a survivor. And I think it's important that women need to see that even though she was in an abusive relationship, ladies, even though Dominique is HIV positive, she is a beautiful woman and she is out here, she's standing in her truth and she's helping save lives. So can you just talk to the women and just let them know to help them get through these seasons, because I know that there are some women who are dealing with this.
I
All
said,
ages. When I looked at the statistics, it's not just young people.
right.
It's 50 and older.
It's
50 and
everybody.
older. Yes, it's not just
Nobody
younger
is counted
people.
out.
Yes.
For me, I say it's mindset. It's definitely a mindset. It's that intimate relationship that you have with God. You got to think about what keeps you going. What do you love? For me, it was my faith. Faith is a lifeline that connects us to something greater. It's
Mm,
more than just a belief. So
mm,
you have to ask yourself, what is your greater? And
mm,
how is your greater going to connect you to the next level of your greatness?
mm,
So mindset is everything. I kept pushing. I kept showing up. I'm a mother. I'm a basketball mom. I'm a friend. I'm a coworker.
mm,
I'm that girl that people just love to be around. So I
mm,
just kept showing up. Even
mm,
though I was suffering in silence, I kept
mm,
showing up.
mm,
And when I got my mark to be better than just showing up, and I started loving me,
mm,
however that looked for me, if it hurt the people that thought, well, she acted funny, it's okay. Because when you start loving yourself, no one can love you more than you. No
that's
one
true.
can give you or feed you what you need mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually than you. So if that takes isolating yourself, if that takes taking a trip by yourself, if that takes shutting down on other people so you can get what you need to know who you are, so you
Mhm,
can show up, then
mhm,
it's okay. But that's what I did. I started creating a space for Dominique. I started loving Dominique. The
mm,
love and the endurance that I had for him, that switch went on for me. I
mm,
love me just as much. I was
mm,
investing in him. I was loving him. I wanted him to change. I wanted him to be this person. I wanted him to have a second chance at life, to know how it feels to be loved and have somebody stick beside you.
mm.
But I had to stand up for myself. I had to stick up for myself. I had to show Dominique, like, girl, know your worth. Know what you hold.
You are worthy of an amazing life. It also says what kind of heart you have because you still stood by him, you still wanted the best for him, and you still dealt with abusive situations throughout all those years. And there's not a lot of women who would have stayed. There's not a lot of women who would have wanted to see him win, who would have cared about him going to the doctor, who would have cared about him getting his medications, and who would have just stuck beside him. So it says a lot about your heart. After you revealed that you were HIV positive, let's just talk about this real quick. January. So, did you do a post? Was it a video? What did you do to tell the world about your status?
So I had a good friend. I've never had a birthday party, and I explained to her that I wanted to have a birthday party. But in that birthday party setting, I knew for me it was my coming out season.
Mm,
So I wanted to gather these people that I love. And if I said I could stand before them and tell them my story, I could do it for anybody else. And so
mm,
me walking into that room, not knowing she was really throwing me a birthday party, I thought we was just gonna have a little get together. She
mm,
actually decorated. I had food, I had cake, I had the people that love me around. And we celebrated, but I also talked about those uncomfortable things that I had been going through in life. And we
mm,
cried, we laughed, but they
mm,
accepted me. They
mm.
wonder why you hadn't said anything. Or girl, where he at? Do I need to beat him up? Let's kill him. But I came out for my birthday. That was my gift to myself. And my dear friend, she made that happen for me.
So, have people walked away from you?
Absolutely.
One of the main reasons that I brought Dominique on here is because I wanted people to understand that just because a woman has HIV does not mean that she is a drug addict. It does not mean that she's a lesbian. It does not mean that she's promiscuous because you hold her hand, because you give her a hug, because you stand in a room with her, because you have a conversation with her is not going to give you HIV because she's close to you, right? She's a human being. And I think that it's important that we remember in life that we never know our situations and we never know what the future holds for us. And it's important that we treat people the way that we would like to be treated. Whenever you are making decisions for you, whenever you putting yourself first, whenever you walking within your will, whenever God has put some things on your spirit and then you start working in your purpose, there's going to be some opposition, there's going to be some struggles, there's going to be some trials and things to take you off focus. And part of transitioning to new places and new circles and new situations is having people in your life who can go through that season with you. So for all the ladies who are in this season and they feel like they can't be honest or they don't have somebody to talk to, or people they will walk away from them. If a person stands in their truth and they tell you their situations, and if somebody can just walk away from you, then they were never meant to be there. Because when you're a friend for good and for bad. You're a friend for good seasons and bad seasons, right? So to not stand in your truth and to suffer and to not go to the doctor because you don't know what the status may be, to not have those conversations. Some women will not go to certain places to get help because they don't know who gonna see them sitting in there. There are a lot of resources, there are a lot of things, but it's I know my status, getting some medicine for it, but I don't want to go here, I don't want to go there because I don't know who else is in there. If they're in there, then they doing the same thing you doing. I don't know who
Right.
to somebody may see me, somebody who worked there, they may go back and tell somebody, but at the end of the day, your health is more important. You can be living your best life. You can be flourishing, thriving, everything you've ever dreamed for, you can have and be successful. And people, they still gonna talk about you. They're gonna talk
Absolutely.
about you if you do. They're gonna talk about you if you don't. So why not stand in your truth?
Standing your truth.
No matter what I do, somebody gonna have something to say. Somebody gonna have something to say about this episode. Somebody gonna have something to say about this podcast. Why did she bring her on here? Somebody gonna have something to say about Dominique. But no matter what you do, somebody gonna have something to say. Find the people in your life who are solid, who gonna be there for you, who are down like four flat tires. That's a saying people used to say. I'm down like four flats. Find somebody that's down like four flats. You're gonna have to let some people go. And you're
You
gonna have
do.
to be okay with that. You don't have to shrink yourself and not be honest and not get the help you need and not advocate and just be in situations where you being mistreated because what somebody gonna think. Who cares what they think? They don't have to go home. They don't have
Right.
to live with that person. They don't have to wake up to that person. They don't have to walk in darkness all day.
And that's why it's so important to me to tell my truth, to walk in my reality, to show people that I live positive.
Mhm,
And when I say I live positive, yes, I acquired HIV, but before HIV, I was Dominique. And Dominique always
mhm,
have had a positive mindset. She
mhm,
always been that girl that thrived. So not only am I living, I'm thriving and surviving with
mhm,
HIV, but I
mhm,
show up. I like to get cute. I like to go out. Like to have a drink. I like to have fun. I like to take trips. I have never stopped being Dominique.
mhm.
And I
There's
think that is
life
so
after.
important.
There's life after. So many people are so stuck in that reality from 20 years ago that it's a death sentence. It's not a death sentence. You
Not
can
at all.
still live and flourish and thrive, ladies.
Yes. And I tell people HIV does not define me.
Mhm,
Because of it, I
mhm.
live higher in victory. I was
Amen.
counted in this case, be sure to be counted out. And the
Mhm,
only way to be counted out is to know your status and
mhm,
have safer sex. We need
mhm,
to practice having uncomfortable conversations and
mhm,
teaching our children, having, even when we out, have safer sex.
mhm. And I agree because I was looking at some statistics and the STD rates, they're very high in Mississippi. And teen pregnancy is very high in Mississippi, which means that there is no protection being used, ladies. So even talking to your daughters, talking to the ladies that you mentor, talking to their friends, having these conversations is very important because you don't realize how serious this is until it's knocking on your door.
Absolutely.
What are some resources? What are some places these ladies can go if they want to know their status or if they know their status, but they're just not really sure of places to get help?
You have the health department. You
Mhm,
have community departments. You have My Brother's Keeper. You have Care for Me Services. You
mhm,
have Jackson Hines.
mhm.
It's places that you can go and get tested. Don't be
I'm
afraid.
gonna put some I will put some links when I air this episode. I will put some links in here. This is for the state of Mississippi for some resources that you ladies can go to be tested. And not only when you're being tested, but just resources if you are positive where they can help you. What's your social sites that ladies can find you on, Dominique?
My Facebook is Dominique Grant. My Instagram is Grantful underscore bless underscore 777. I'm also on TikTok, Grantful Bless. My email is walking in my reality at gmail.com. But
Mhm,
I'm very prevalent on Facebook.
mhm. And if you would like for Dominique to come speak or just be an advocate, she is open to that. So reach out to her if there's some young ladies that you would like for her to talk to. Like, she's here to spread awareness. She is a walking testimony of life after HIV, ladies. I am Demira Virgil. This is Queendom Conversations. You can find me on Facebook, on queendom.com. I am on every social platform you can think of. And I just want you all to be encouraged. I don't want you to ever give up. I want to commend Dominique Grant for coming on here today, standing in
Thank
her
you.
truth, because I know it's not easy. And you are a very strong woman. You are an example of what a resilient woman is, because you have endured a lot. So, for all the people, and I'm sure that you know a lot of people, Jackson is small. Jackson, Mississippi is small, but she
Right.
has been through a lot. And for her to sit here and stand in her truth, ladies, and still have a smile on her face and want to spread awareness to help save lives, saves it says a lot about her. And I'm just grateful to have you on this platform again. Thank you, Dominique. You ladies all be blessed. Again, Demara Virgil, Queendom Conversations. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.